welcome.
Welcome. Thank you very much.
Business Insider.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
We are going to rush back now, probably 2.5 years, to capture the size of the Bowditch Group.
Mm-hmm.
Nearly right. It started with travel.
Yeah.
Then got into cosmetics, and then got into social media and that sort of thing. Are there one or two strategies in there that you kind of look back and say, wow, I wish I'd done that earlier, or equally, I'd wish I'd never done that?
There's been a lot. I mean, in the travel, as you say, I started in travel, and it really started in social media. When I started the travel business, I started it with a grand total of 4 customers, very loyal customers, and good word of mouth, thankfully. But you know, it's not a great way to kick off a business. And so I started with 4 customers, no money, and no money to spend on marketing or to build the brand. So social media is where I started, and social marketing is where I really started to push that first brand in the travel business. To answer conversely your question, that was one of the best decisions ever. Not to spend money on traditional marketing or advertising, which, well, I didn't have the money for a start, but I found that there was a greater return on the investment of the social marketing than I would have had with letterbox drops or with a ad in the local paper or whatever it was. Having said that, I have made a lot of mistakes, a lot of contests and giveaways and things like that, which I ran in the first sort of 6 months, when money started to come in, and I thought I was all this, you know, cash rich, and then all of a sudden things are coming out, and then I've got a prize that I decided 3 months ago to give away, a voucher or something like that. That sort of thing hasn't worked well in my business at all.
Was that because you thought you weren't balancing your cash flow, or you weren't? Yeah.
Well, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot with cash flow. That's something I do very, very poorly, and hence something I outsource.
I've got to say, from a client's perspective, you bill very regularly. But anyway, and well.
Thank you.
Yeah, but that promotional activity, they were some of your mistakes because you didn't think about why were they problems?
I just didn't think it through. I didn't think, okay, I'm going to give this prize away on the 1st of August. It's redeemable on the 1st of November, and I don't know what's happening with cash flow in November. At that point, I was very, very poor at planning. I was an idiot, really, business-wise. I was learning all the time, but that was one of the mistakes I made, that I didn't project income to decide how much I'd have to spend on promotions and things like that. So.
Did you? I guess my question was, did you, in retrospect now, did you need to run those promotions?
No.
Okay, well that's the other part of that question as well.
Or if I did, I should have run them much smaller.
Right. Okay.
Much more modestly. I was sort of overconfident because of the initial influx of work and cash coming into the business, and thought I was the bee's knees, and all of a sudden it all started to get a bit hard and stuff, and then these people started to want to claim their vouchers and things like that, which, you know, you have to honour, obviously. So we're scraping around and things like that. It was just very poor planning, really, on my part.
Looking forward, going back 2.5 years, just prior to the financial crisis, you launched one business. Just after it, you launch your next.
Yeah.
And you worry about your timing.
Please, sir, may I have another?
Yes, and hit me harder this time. Okay, stop. Going forward, what will this year look like? Is it for your business, and then, or for your clients?
For my 3 different businesses, the future, even just in the next 12 months, is very, very different. With the travel business, I outsource a lot of that work now. I have consultants who work remotely from my business, and really I get the new business come in through the social marketing and through the blog and whatever, and then farm it out to the people who are working for me remotely. That's ticking along nicely, and really, 2.5 years ago, that should have been what I was doing. It's a lesson learned. With the affiliate sales business, that just ticks along, really. It's money for jam. I mean, it's hard work.
I love that story. Can you just describe what affiliate sales is?
I basically build websites and have social marketing presences, Facebook pages and Facebook advertising, selling other people's products. And then I don't have a warehouse or a garage full of that product. When someone buys it from an online presence I've set up, they get sent it from client A, who then sends me a check for the commission. It's very clean and easy in that way. It's not easy. There's a lot of work and a lot of testing to be done, but Proactive Solution and people like that have a lot of people like me were doing their business for them. So from an overhead point of view, it's fantastic. Really, there's web hosting and a few hours here and there to do split testing and so on, but basically it's fairly easy, and that will just always tick along as long as those products keep ticking along. So I'm not too worried about that. The other business that I'm in is helping other small businesses, really just showing them how I'd been able to build these two businesses using just social marketing. The biggest thing that could go wrong with that, or the biggest change and biggest dynamic thing about that, is that world is always changing. I mean, talk to MySpace about whether Facebook was going to be a threat to it. Well, we all know how that went. So, and Facebook, even though it's huge, and I do a lot of business through the advertising on it, as well as having Facebook pages and things like that, it's still vulnerable, and there still could be something. It could either bring itself undone, or it could be overtaken by someone else. And someone like me who talks to someone like you about that platform has to be on top of that. So I have to really stay at that, I hate that term, but that cutting edge, because that can change very rapidly. If it does, then I have to change my business model as well.
Do you see yourself as a teacher or as a producer?
I'm a service provider.
Answer the question.
It was a very politician's answer, wasn't it? I teach people, I guess, I teach people the power of social marketing, the power of that online world to enhance what they're doing offline. But primarily I'm setting up services to basically for people who, there's three reasons people get me to do this sort of work for them. They don't know how to do it, they don't want to do it, they just can't be bothered doing it, or they don't have time to do it. So
I have three hands up there.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
So in that way I'm a service provider. Okay. But you have to be very careful with this social marketing.
See, and the dilemma I have with service provider is there is a separation between teaching, which covers you do all of it, and that's what this client expects of you. Yeah. So you are a producer, and frankly, this client can't come to grips with what he's got to do, so he needs a professional. And I will never, even if I wanted to, I can never be what you are. So that's where your value for me is, and that was the question between teaching, because teaching is an admirable, well, not a question, a required, a service. Yep. But how you make money out of that is a different thing, and we'll go into it a little later. What about work-life balance? You have a young family.
I do. I have two children under 2, one who's extremely feral and one who's quite calm. So they give you a bit of a run for my money. But I have a 4-day working week, as you know, Mark, and so on that 4th day, there is no business at the threat of divorce or something worse. But really, that was a great decision I made about 4 months ago, and it just took a lot of pressure off. It was a great moment for me in my business learning curve, because I didn't have to be there every day. I didn't have to be doing it at 10 o'clock at night. I set myself a very rigid start and stop time every day, and I really work hard. There might be occasional days when it's crazy and I have to do it, but no more Saturdays and Sundays, 4 days a week. And I find that it makes me a better dad, certainly makes me a better husband and / housemate. And I think
it lets you live.
Yeah, and it makes the business stronger too, because I come into work after having that middle day off in the week, ready to go. Like, I feel quite good, and so I can go to my daughter's swimming lessons and all that sort of stuff, which makes it nice. That's why I don't travel to Sydney to work in a cubicle. So,
could you earn more in Sydney working in a cubicle?
No, not in what I do. No, I would be working for someone else. I'd be extremely frustrated. I wouldn't be a master of the creative domain and all that. And I've done that for long enough, and I'm quite happy working for myself.
If we look at giving you the rant box now, the soapbox to stand on, and we're, as an observer of businesses, across quite a broad spectrum, from Sydney and through the coast and broader than that. I know you're heading up to Brisbane to lend your knowledge up there. Yeah, so. If you had the opportunity to rant on some element of business, what would that be?
Just one?
Just one, and you can focus heavily on it for 60 seconds.
Well, close to home, people who have a small business and believe that they're doing social media marketing by having a Facebook page. We've got a Facebook page. We're already doing that. Well, and I say to them, well, what sort of interaction do you get off that? What sort of user-generated content are you getting off it? What sort of strategy do you have around it? Oh, I have a Facebook page. You know, well, that's not strategy, you know. So I find that really difficult, particularly on the coast, where all this stuff that I talk about is quite new. Some people, early adopter type personalities are, yep, I'll do that. Other people are quite hard to get into it. But
is it different in Sydney from what you see?
There's probably more social media consultants on the ground, I guess. It's probably it's probably a pretty across the board thing, but I just wish people would look at the big picture. People look at the big picture with conventional advertising, yellow pages, letterbox drops, SMS marketing, whatever it might be. But when you get into the social media stuff, because it's so new and so little understood really by a lot of people, that they don't put value on it, and it's cheap comparatively to advertising or conventional marketing. So there's less value put on it, and I think in 2 years that will be different. But at the moment, it's very difficult for me to convince people of the value of it, and therefore convince people they need a strategy around it, not just a presence in it.
So I should ease up on your split personality between being a teacher and a producer, because you've actually got to do a lot more teaching to get them to value this.
You know what? People who are, I have no idea what I'm doing. This is not my thing. I don't have a Facebook profile. They're the gold client for me, because really that lets me do both. It lets me teach them the value of it, and it lets me provide that service. The more difficult client for me really is the people who go, oh yeah, I know what that is. I'm on Facebook. I've done some ads, and I go, okay, well, what about the bigger strategy? So that's the more difficult client for me. So the perfect client for me is one that I teach, as you say, and then provide the service ongoing or as a short-term project.
News on the coast and the delivery of information. Some people think we're going through the opportunity to revolutionise how information is dispersed. Is that true? Is there, and what are the opportunities you see for news and information deliverers on the coast?
It might be just because of the space that I work in, but online I think it's traditionally very poor on the coast. Primarily just, again, because it's such a new avenue of distribution, So I think there's amazing opportunity to spread news and to spread innovation and things like that online, as opposed to in the local rag or on TV even, or whatever.
Where do you get anything in a hard copy now?
Not if I can help it. I stopped using a fax and printer in my office more than 18 months ago. So, and I hope never to have to send it.
But you've also pushed to the next level. You actually don't accept mobile phone calls either, do you?
No, I don't. My mobile phone is for my family.
Yeah, I need to be adopted. But anyway, okay.
So no, I don't get snail mail. I don't print. I don't fax.
And you are at the edge, but there is a whole body of businesses behind you.
Yeah, and it's I feel I have a bit of a not a responsibility, but I try to encourage people to use cloud applications and to use email and different things a lot more, because I think in 2 years email will be seriously threatened by these things, and I want the people who I work with, my clients like you, to know what I'm talking about in a year's time and go, oh, actually, yeah, he was right about that, or that the facsimile, that technology is dead now, and I'm glad I ditched it, or whatever. So I do like the teaching thing now that you pointed out.
I think it's a cool area, but it's got to pay. That's the thing. Where you have one thing, and that is the commercial imperative, and that is making sure your time gets paid for. But not with this client. Maybe some other clients are more
should I start billing now? Or?
Not now. No. Dead simple question now. 24 months, 2 years out. What's going to be here and what's not? eBay is saying, trading online and selling product online. Jerry Harvey is furious about it, as he should be, because it's eating into his profit. Where do you think, in 2 years, what will it look like?
Jerry Harvey shouldn't be furious about it. Jerry Harvey should, 3 years ago, have organised HarveyNorman.com to be a major selling portal, and it's not. Well, it's now starting to be, and he's got his bum kicked a little bit in the media, and come out and said, look, that was a big mistake for me and Bernie and his mates to cry poor for big retail. Big retail should have seen it coming. Everyone else did. Small and medium-sized business certainly did, and that's who most of my clients are. To answer your question, in 2 years, what will be around? I'd be really happy to be a small business retailer who has an online selling portal or an online space, marketing space right now, because I think in 2 years that imbalance that there's been with the big retail, big Coles and Woolworths up here and all the little guys struggling, that will be reversed a little bit because of the online space being more and more important. You mentioned eBay and Australia being a superstar of online selling. Well, everyone knows that, and big business certainly knows that, with Harvey Norman now saying that they're going to develop this website more for selling online, Myer doing the same. But also, Kogan and different big small retailers who do a really good job of working online. I'd be really happy if I was in that space, because I think in 2 years they'll start to reach some parity in the cut through, really, because they've got a solid online strategy, rather than just, we're a big business and here's our website. We're little guys, but here's our website. Yeah. So I think that's how it'll be. I hope so, because that's going to keep me in business. But that's what I hope.
Cool. Just on the no voice part of mobile communications for you, and that's your family's domain, which is a cool position to be in. What other elements do you use on your phone, to stay in touch? How do you get your emails and that?
All through my phone.
Right.
My phone is my portable office, really. It's a way for me to get out of the office. It's a way for me to keep that work-life balance, really. I mean, that's part of the reason why I don't use my mobile phone voice part for business, because if you give a client your phone number, they'll ring it at 9:30 at night. I don't want that. My hours are this and this, and that allows me to have that work-life balance. So I don't use the voice part. You ask my wife, I'm always on my phone, using Twitter and using Facebook and using the applications that I teach my clients and the service I'm providing them, and ensuring that things are ticking over. I receive all my books through that. Everything we do in our business is now outsourced off into the cloud applications. So my calendar is all gone, my books are all gone, and so the only way I have to really, if I'm not in the office in front of my computer, to access that stuff is on my phone. So I do use it a lot for that. Third-party applications are very big on my phone. And the voice part really is just for my wife to go pick up some milk. Where are you? Hey, get off your phone. That thing. So that's the way I like it.
Yeah. For us to get news through to you, then it's got to be on the phone.
Yeah.
Or
on an email,
SMS and
yeah. And that's what I mentioned before, how I thought email was under threat by these things, and because of the uprise of cloud sharing applications that you can put whole files on, images, whatever, like Dropbox and things like that. I think where someone used to send you a big file and take hours to download the email and all that, now they're going to send you a message on Facebook or a message on Twitter and say, that file is in Dropbox, check it when you get there. No more email. I receive way too many emails. I must delete 100 a day, because I'm a serial subscriber too. That's a bit of a flaw in my character, but so I think that in 2 years' time, people will address that differently, and that little phone in your pocket becomes a very, very important business tool. But for me, the voice part is not a business tool.
It's a nice place to stop, I think. Nicholas?
Thank you.